Alright, here's another Redeye Raw. I was debating doing this one live, because I want to make sure I get all my points out, because today, I figured I would try defining my sort of ideology, my worldview, as it were. Now, I've done multiple videos on the subject. In fact, I've done multiple Redeye Raws pertaining to the subject, whether it be my evolution of my views, whether it be my core principles, things like that. So there's probably going to be a little bit of overlap with this content of those particular Redeye Raws. But with this one, I want to talk about the things that influence me, as well as just sort of what my core beliefs are as a person, because there is some complexity to it. And I felt that was worth mentioning. So, how would I define myself in simple terms? Well, again, simple terms, it's hard to do, but what I will say is that with my, what's up, Ree and Andy? How you guys doing? What I will say is the way I typically define myself in the shortest, simplest, sweetest of terms is that I like to say I am more conservative than your typical libertarian, but I'm more libertarian than your typical conservative. Another thing I often say, idealistically, is I say that I am a anarcho-capitalist. But again, that's idealistically. There's a difference between what I think is the ideal and what I think is practical and actually feasible in the real world. There's my utopian fantasy, right? And then there's reality. So there is a key distinction there. I don't believe in karma. I do, Andy. If karma really did exist, then half the fucking world would already be dead. That's a valid point. I do, to an extent, believe in karma, though. And that's another thing that's key in my philosophy. Let me use a better lighter. Hold on. That's another thing that is key in my philosophy, though, is I believe that morals are absolutely objective. Now, there can be some nuance as to what morals are more important than others, and there can be some nuance as to what those morals are, but I absolutely think right and wrong are objective. Where the fuck is the other lighter? There it is. Alright, let's use the better torch. How long have you been as misogynistic as you are now? We'll get to that, don't you worry. But to answer your question, I've always been at least a little bit. But I only started realizing it and being honest about it about 4 years ago. Give or take. Like, I always had little tendencies here and there, and I've never been a feminist. I've always been an anti-feminist. There we go, that got it. I just need to give it another snip. Let me talk a little bit about the different philosophies that I borrow from, because I do believe, to an extent, in cherry-picking philosophy, like picking and choosing what parts of philosophies you like. Because I ultimately am an individualist, and I think that I define myself better than anyone else can. The core philosophies that I think I take the most from, obviously there's anarcho-capitalism. You could really branch that out to just capitalism and libertarianism in general. But again, I don't like the government, and again, in speaking in an idealistic, completely, you know, I get to wave my hand and make everything exactly as I want it, that's what I would do. Because I don't like the government, and I don't like regulation. However, I'm a realist, and I know that that's not practical, and it in all honesty, might have trouble scaling up. And I do think, again, morals are objective, so you're going to run into some problems there. But another ideology I take a lot from is objectivism. Now, what objectivism is it's the philosophy coined by Ayn Rand, although it's also based on stuff from Aristotle and a few others. But Ayn Rand is the one who coined the term, and it's really attributed as her philosophy. And that is the thing about objectivism that I like, and there's a lot of aspects I really like about it. Number one, never compromise. It's about not compromising and sticking to your principles. That is one big thing I absolutely love about objectivism. Another thing in objectivism is objective right and objective wrong. Again, I'm pretty big on that. Again, we can argue nuance till the cows come home, and I'm not pretending that there isn't nuance, but people pretend that there's more nuance than there actually is. Some things in life aren't as complicated as people make them out to be. Another thing I really like about objectivism, though, is it rejects altruism. And that doesn't mean that I'm completely against the idea of helping people. But I like the rejection of altruism because if you're simply doing everything for either the common good or for some stranger's behalf, or just because you want to be nice to people, you're very easy to take advantage of, and there's a big problem with people being too nice that is a large part of the problem with our society. Now, one of the other things that altruism leads to is socialism, which you may know I am very, very, very against socialism. I'm very hyper-capitalist. I hate socialism. And that's another thing with objectivism, is it is hyper-capitalistic. Now, that doesn't mean I love big companies. In fact, there's a lot of big companies I really don't like, and they have very unethical practices. But that's a different conversation, right? There are things that people do, there are things that companies do that are completely unethical and bad, like sweatshops in China, things like that. And then there's things that they do that I just don't like woke ad campaigns and shit like that. But one of the things that is pretty core in me is I'm very pro-masculinity, pro-men, obviously. Here's where I've been much more open and honest about it, and actually, then you'd know that about me. And that's misogyny thing earlier, obviously. And a lot of people would take issue with that term being applied to them. I don't. For two reasons. Number one, most people who are going to call you a misogynist are going to call you a misogynist whether you deny it or not. And second off, I do believe that there are male and female natures, and I do personally think male nature is superior. But that doesn't mean that I think that men are superior in every single aspect. I think they have complementary natures that balance each other out. I think, at its core, men and women are supposed to serve different purposes that are both good. But the problem is everything's so fucked up now that that doesn't happen. Women reject their roles and expect us to uphold ours, which I don't agree with. Which you may have picked up on. Obviously, there's some MGTOW philosophy in there. I'm not going to pretend there's not. It's good philosophy. Men going their own way. The idea of men focusing on themselves and not pursuing women, and abstaining from things like marriage and cohabitation, which, again, I'm open to the idea of marriage in the future, but the thing is, the system is absolutely stacked against guys. They're stacked against men considerably. But in addition to that, I'm very, very absolutist when it comes to free speech. So much so that I don't believe in things like obscenity laws, which itself can be unpopular with conservatives, because I think that porn is protected. Anything made to consenting adults as far as porn, I think is nobody's business. But I like the idea of verification, but I also think it's ultimately the parents' responsibility. Obviously, what I want with that doesn't seem to matter stuff, because porn is absolutely unhealthy and I don't like it. But I do consider it to. Well, basically, what I say is shouldn't be allowed online, and I consider porn to be free speech. That's what I said. Kids should not be allowed on the internet. Period. I can try turning on Wi-Fi if that's any better. I don't know if it will be, and I don't know if I'm actually cutting in and out or if it's just on your end. Is that any better? Can you see and hear me clearly now? I am on your end. I'm cutting in and out, or I'm clear. You need to be more specific, Ree. You're cutting in now still, or I was before? You were before at the time of me writing the chat? Okay, but am I good now? By the way, did you hear about Steven Crowder's allegations recently? I can get to that, sure, but let me just finish my point because I want to make this clear because I was cutting in and out apparently. What I said was, I think porn is protected speech. I think kids should not be allowed on the internet, period. I think parents should watch what their kids do. Obviously, that's not an end-all, be-all, but I think that I'm a free speech absolutist, but I don't think kids should be on the internet, period. Because the internet is far too dangerous and far too mature for children. But as far as the Steven Crowder thing, I take issue with his drama with Dave Landau. I don't like, if what Dave Landau says is true, I don't like the way he treated him. However, I don't give a shit about that stuff with his wife for a couple of reasons. Number one, the argument really didn't look that bad. Number two, it's kind of ridiculous that so-called conservatives have taken issue with him using the term wifely duties. It's like, husbands and wives each have duties to a marriage. That's the fucking point. So I don't take issue with that. I think it's nobody's fucking business.
I mean the one that's the hand-rolled one that's partially smoked.
This one?
No.
This one.
It's unwrapped. It was on the edge of that.
Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. Your porn point got through now? Okay, cool. That's all I was saying, is I think porn is protected speech and that obscenity laws are wrong, but I don't think kids should be allowed on the internet, period. And I think it's ultimately the parents' responsibility to keep them off of it. But no, what I was saying is, with Crowder, I don't think his argument with his wife actually matters to me at all. Because it's nobody's fucking business. To be fair, children can still sneak it. Children watching NSFW is unavoidable. I mean, if the kids are determined enough, maybe. But, like, I think that parents should just keep an eye on what their fucking kids do and keep them off the internet.
Previous generations stole Playboys.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not, like I said, in Utah, they passed a thing with age verification, which in principle I'm not against, but in implementation I don't think it's realistic, and I think giving sites more ways to spy on you isn't good. Also, VPNs exist, so I don't know that it's going to add another barrier, and I don't know what sites are going to come. Like, that Pornhub is inaccessible in the state of Utah now, which, again, I don't think kids should be on the internet, period, and especially not on sites like that. But I don't know that a law like that is really going to achieve the desired results. But despite all of that, despite all the shit I just said, porn is bad. It is bad for society. It is bad for you mentally, and it fucks you up. It is not a good thing. And we as a society have become far too accepting of it. The reason I don't think parents should take away the internet is because they don't know what the internet is about. That's their problem. That's their fault.
Yeah.
They should pay attention to what their fucking kids are doing instead of being lazy.
Kids do something that you don't know.
Yeah, and I don't believe that either. Like, if you're taught, like, most parents, I think, in this day and age, most people grew up with the internet.
Yeah, but then you have the retards that argue that not allowing your kids on the internet's abuse.
Yeah, that's true.
You have those retards.
Yeah, I know. That brings me on to my other point, is another part in my key philosophy, is I am fairly anti-technology. Like, there are good things to come from technology.
You had it right.
But I do think that technology will ultimately be our downfall. I think social media has ruined social interactions. I think that dating apps and things like that have ruined the dating scene, in addition to feminism and also just dumb shit like that. And simps. Simps are a big problem. Um, but yeah, and there are things that I like about technology. I don't like AI overall, but I think people get a little overscared about AI art in particular. I'm more concerned about like AI chatbots and deepfakes, because deepfakes could be used to make fake evidence.
AI is a fire.
Yeah.
I think Tim's right about that.
A fire? What do you mean?
A fire. Once it's unleashed, there's nothing stopping it. It's gonna burn uncontrollably and do what it wants, to the point where it destroys itself.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And like, the thing is, I ultimately think there are a lot of problems with AI, and it can absolutely lead to a lot of bad things. But I do think that there is also a lot of fear mongering about it. But again, I do think that the internet has been a net negative for humanity, even if it has allowed us to communicate.
That's been a problem.
Yeah, I know.
We've been adopting other cultures, and it's ruining American culture.
Yeah, that reminds me. That's another thing. Because what the point of this stream is to kind of go over my ideology. So that's another thing. I'm a nationalist. I don't believe in global values. I believe in national values. I believe in secured borders and prevention from people breaking those borders. I don't have a problem with immigration wholesale as a concept, but I think that it's overdone. And here's the thing. I'm also, if you want to be fair, I think that there are some areas where the legal process could have some things to be a little bit better and more streamlined. Absolutely. But I ultimately think if you come here illegally, that's still a crime. And I can't remember what podcast I was watching the other day, but they said we should call them criminal immigrants, not illegal immigrants. Maybe that was Timcast. I don't remember.
I can't fucking remember. I heard that somewhere too. Is it on Alex Jones' show?
I don't think so.
I don't think it was.
Yeah.
I'll mess with that Kiki.
But another thing with being nationalistic, I think that in addition to having national values rather than global values, we should try to be as independent as physically possible. We should produce our own stuff within the country. Now, that said, international trade I'm all on board with when it's necessary, but I think if we can do something nationally, we should do it nationally, rather than being dependent on a foreign agent. The fuck is she doing?
Evie's fucking taunting her.
Yeah, as far as that goes, another thing with that is I am anti-war. I understand there are some instances where war does happen, but I am overall anti-war, and I am pretty much anti-interventionalist. I think we should very, very rarely, if ever, intervene in other countries. I think for the most part, we should only do things that are advantageous to us as a country. And for instance, Ukraine, I don't think the U.S. has any business being involved in that fight whatsoever.
Especially giving them drones.
Yeah. But another thing, if it was is it Thailand or Taiwan? It's Taiwan. If Taiwan gets invaded by China, that's a different story because we have interest there because they produce for us. You see, that's one difference.
They also have a treaty with Japan.
Yeah.
And we have a treaty with Japan.
Right. But with Ukraine and stuff, that we have no dog in that fight. There's no reason that we should be as involved as we are. Let alone more like some people want. Let's see. Another thing, I do consider myself a Christian. However, my views on Christianity are fairly non-traditional. There are portions of the Bible I take literally, and portions of it I take figuratively. There's a lot of shit that's inaccurate in it, and I think you could chalk that up to a couple of things. It is written by man, even if it is the Word of God, and it is, man is fallible. It's been translated over and over again for centuries, so there's bound to be some things wrong in there. And, the men who wrote it if they're going on things, they might not have been given everything through divine intervention. They might have also been laying out morals in some instances. And there's some shit.
Also be tricked.
Yeah, and there is some shit that's inaccurate in Genesis, like the exact order in which life appeared on Earth is not correct in order and things like that. And I do believe in evolution. I'm not.
And there was 100% giants on this planet.
Okay.
There's skeletal proof.
Okay.
And it's also in the Bible talking about if a giant were to sleep with a human female, they would bear the child of the human, or the human would bear their child. It doesn't say that in those nice words. It says it in really fucked up words.
Where in the Bible does it say this?
It was on Apology Apologetics. Gerald brought up the thing, and I looked it up, and it's in there. I can't remember.
It's not like apocryphal or anything, right? It's still in there?
It's in there.
Okay. Well, there you go. That's the other thing. I'm fascinated with, like, apocrypha. But I was raised Mormon, so I still hold a lot of those values in some extent. There's a lot of things I don't like about the Mormon church, too, and I think it's corrupted, just like I believe every other church is corrupted. I do consider myself Christian as well, but there's some misconceptions about the religion. I agree there are misconceptions about the religion. I ultimately also do think that I think all organized religions are corrupt. I don't think there's a single church left on the earth that is not corrupt.
It should not be ran by man.
I think that for me, I'm much more in favor of like a community church where it's the members of a community gathering together with shared values, and that's a problem I think we have in the West now, especially, is we no longer have a shared community or shared values.
That's hot.
So I think having a shared community is the best case scenario.
I just touched the fucking red part of the cigar.
Nice.
Yeah, because it was fucking burning weird.
But yeah, so obviously, like I said, Christianity, conservatism, anarcho-capitalism, objectivism, these are all things that I borrow elements heavily from my ideology. And a lot of these things sound contradictory even, but when you mesh them together, I think they actually mesh a lot better than a lot of people think they do. There are elements I disregard from all of those, to be fair. Like I said, I don't follow anyone wholly. I used to consider myself Jewish for a couple of years, but I started acting more Christian than Jewish. Well, the thing is both rely on the Old Testament, which I actually think is the better of the two testaments. But what?
Jew God is better than New God.
Yeah, that's a Corbin quote, actually. But I like to look into various forms of Christianity. There's a lot of things I like about Catholicism. Corbin's got me pretty interested in Gnosticism because he talks about it a lot.
What is that?
It's a really complicated one that apparently Jordan Peterson is. But Gnosticism is...
No, the Muslims say Jordan Peterson's a Muslim. He just doesn't know it yet.
There's even things I like in Islam. I don't overall like Islam as a religion, but there are things I like in Islam too.
What are the 12 books that like explain Jesus not in a... Fuck, my brain just went blank. Like, it has him in Egypt and Japan and shit, learning different techniques before he was called back.
I am not familiar with any of this.
God damn it. I don't remember what it is. I'll think of it.
But, as I was saying, I think even if it's not literal, there are a lot of good morals in the Bible and other religious texts.
It's the thing in Muslim text.
Okay. But there are a lot of things in the Bible and other religious texts that I think are absolutely crucial moral lessons. And whether or not they're literal isn't as important as the lessons themselves, I think. As with the talk earlier about, men and women having different roles, I am very, very traditional with gender roles. I think that men and women each serve a different purpose, and that has been bastardized and abandoned largely by modern society. And it has been corrupted and also had men bastardize their protecting nature to become simps. And I think that's a massive problem, because I think weak men are part of the biggest problems with society, because societies thrive with strong men, and having weak men will be the downfall. Because the thing is, as they say, good times create weak men create hard times create strong men, and strong men create good times. Ever since the 60s, men have been having your for worst. Women rarely get consequences. Yes, 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 yes. Everything in society is designed to make it so that women don't have consequences for their actions. Like the legal system, just cultural, like things like men are so cucked culturally with how you're like, oh, you should never speak to a woman like this. You should be the gentleman, things like that. What's up, Evie? Okay, yes, you're a good girl. You got your attention. Now go away. Good girl.
Go play. I'm not giving you any food. This is my food.
Let's see. The two issues I have never once changed my opinion on are abortion and guns. I'm very, very, very against abortion. I view it as the worst type of murder. And I am very, very, very pro-gun. And I think any law made to infringe guns in any way, shape, or form is unconstitutional and therefore illegal. I think the ATF is a criminal organization created illegally by the government. And I think the NFA is an illegal act that was passed in order to give them power.
So is the EPA.
Yeah, but that's a different argument. That's not with guns.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I'm very much a believer in objective reality in general. Men are men, women are women, and the two can never change places like that. You cannot become a woman no matter how hard you try, and vice versa. You are what you are, and you got to learn to deal with it. That's just the way life is. Mutilating yourself will never lead to making you happy in your body if you're not happy to begin with. And I think people pushing it on children are some of the worst types of people. I think it is the worst form of child abuse. To actually want to mutilate their bodies permanently. Let's see. Now this is an interesting one, right? I'm a firm believer in redemption, hence I'm against the death penalty, but I also don't think we're hard enough on criminals in some regards. I think there's an interesting dichotomy with that, where we are simultaneously not hard enough on criminals, and I'm a big believer in redemption. I think socially, criminals always have a stigma, even simple crimes. If you steal something, sometimes jobs just won't hire you, even if it has nothing to do with the job. Or you got in a fight when you were a teenager. Sometimes that can follow you. Or maybe not a teenager, but a young adult.
Depends on the fight.
Yeah, and depends on the job.
Yep.
But I do think in a lot of ways we're also too soft on criminals, because there's a lot of blue cities and blue states that just let them loose, which I think is absolutely wrong too. I'm ultimately against a lot of things in the prison system. I think that it needs massive reform. And I think that we could be doing something better than simply locking people away. I think another thing we could be doing is having them do something more productive. Actually earning their freedom back and rehabilitating themselves physically that way. Hence why I am not in favor of when states want to get rid of the ability to have slavery as the punishment for a crime. Now, slavery is a dirty word due to its connotations, but I think as the punishment for a crime where you earn your freedom back, I think that it makes sense. Because the thing is technically community service is slavery. And so I think it's a weird distinction when people say, oh, community service is fine when it's literally forced labor. But having criminals do labor is somehow wrong. Now, granted, I think that can be abused, because there's people like Kamala Harris that intentionally kept people locked up longer than she was supposed to in order to get free slave labor, and I think that is wrong. I think even criminals should have rights. I think, that's the thing. Everyone has rights. It's just when you are a criminal ward of the state, you have less rights, but you still have rights. There are still fundamental rights that every person should have.
Nice. Eating.
See, Andy said something I missed. Made another video on your channel before called Rant, Pandering to Insane Ideologies is Bad. Yes, it is. And I think far too many companies do it. They'll pander to the left, and the left are insane. It is a cult. And ultimately, I think companies can pander to who they want to pander to, but I think it's bad that they do.
Free market will sort it out.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is if we had a truly free market, I think it would sort it out. And it is sorting it out right now for Budweiser. They're not doing so hot.
You're giving store employees free cases of Bud Light.
Yeah, but only fags drink Bud Light.
Oh. You see what the Navy did?
Yeah, I did. That really bad drag queen promotional thing they did for the Navy.
Everyone in the Navy's gay. Thanks for proving our point.
Yeah, pretty much. Just embracing the stereotype full on at that point. Let's see. But yeah, that's the thing, is a lot of people are like afraid to be called like sexist and stuff like that. I stopped giving a shit about that years ago. Like I said, probably around 4 years ago at this point is when I fully embraced it. You also did an internet rant back in 2015? Yes, I sure did, Andy. Yeah, I also believe in following ideas, not people. There are plenty of people I follow that have controversy around them, and I don't. And like the thing is you got to realize is everyone is a flawed human, and just because someone is flawed doesn't mean their ideas are not solid. And just because someone has solid ideas doesn't make them a good person, and also doesn't mean all their ideas are solid. There is not a single person I agree with 100% on anything.
It's not possible.
Exactly, and that's why purity tests on like the left I don't think are good, and I think that's why the left always eats its own. But my phone's battery is getting a little low, so we'll only keep this going a little bit longer. Yeah, like I said, free market. Are you a bi-curious man about science? What? What kind of question is that?
Question science? Is that what you mean by
that? You know what? Actually, that brings me to another good point. It's a weird and stupid question, but it does actually makes me think of a better point. Which is a lot of people, I think, put too much stock in experts and use what's called appeal to authority fallacy. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't look into what people who are experienced in a field say. I think that's actually important. But don't think that they're somehow above regular people, because there are some things that experts say that is fucking retarded and then later gets disproven. So, to put all your stock... No, this is not a vape, it's a fucking cigar. I don't vape. Do I look like a faggot?
It goes wet. It's definitely a vape.
What made me lose my train of thought? Oh yeah, so like I think it is good to look into what people are saying who are experienced in the field, but don't think that experience somehow makes them like fucking geniuses and makes them like smart. Because there are things where a lot of what I see is like peer-reviewed stuff where people who are all in the same field and all already have the same preconceptions just agree with each other, and that somehow makes it more credible to people. I think that's retarded. That's what we call confirmation bias. Have you ever read Animal Farm by Pink Floyd? I've read Animal Farm by George Orwell. Yeah, it's a good book.
Do they have a song called Animal Farm?
No, I think that this guy in the chat is somewhat of a troll, but it's fun. It's fun. Hey, speaking of George Orwell, I'm wearing my 1984 is not an instruction manual shirt. There you go. But Pink Floyd. What is the worst news source? Oh, that is
CNN.
No. Young Turks.
Oh.
No. Majority Report with Sam Cedar.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah. That's the worst news source. MSNBC is also worse than CNN.
They're all the same.
Yeah, but MSNBC is like a lot more openly like crazy with their conspiracy theories than CNN is.
That is very true. They push blue and on way more.
Yeah.
That is very true.
It's funny too because the right and the left all say the same things about each other, and that's the thing that that drives me nuts about leftists because I fully understand their worldview. They don't understand mine though. And they don't understand the fact that they're also taking from biased sources. Because here's the thing: I take in a lot of biased sources. I'll still look at what the left is saying. It's just retarded. I'll even listen to what the Young Turks are saying, and they're fucking retarded. But on average, during a normal day, I listen to probably around 5 hours of news throughout the day.
That's fair.
Yeah, sometimes more, sometimes less. It depends on the day.
Probably 8 today.
Yeah, some days I listen to more. There's some days it's closer to like 10.
Well, I watched the Alex Jones show today.
Yeah.
I usually don't. But
I was going to today, but I didn't get around to it yet.
His servers suck ass.
Oh yeah, Band.video has some issues loading sometimes.
Especially recently.
I think also today it's because I was listening to multiple other things throughout the day, and I was listening to a little bit of Aristotle's Politics because I'm going to review that book soon. Aristotle's great. I need to finish reading The White Pill by Michael Malice as well. But yeah, like I said, I tend to listen to various news sources throughout the day, and I also read dumb articles that Google recommends to me. Sometimes it'll give me good information. It's just with a dumb slant. Other times it won't. My parents are bad parents to my half-brother because they literally buy into him making him think he's a woman. Yeah, dude, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope the best for him. I hope he can power through it and get over it at some point. I hope he does. I hope he hasn't done anything irreversible yet. If he has, you have my condolences, man. Because I don't believe in enabling delusion. I think enabling delusion only makes people less healthy, and it makes them more miserable. And it does not decrease the rate of suicide. And some studies have even shown that it might increase it. But I think the general gist is it stays about the same. But with how widespread the transgender agenda goes, with how widespread it is now, I think in like 10, 20 years, we're going to see a mass wave of detransitioners who hate themselves.
The transurrection's going to happen.
There you go. You can do another book review? Of course, I'm going to be reviewing Aristotle's Politics once I finish it. I'm going to be reviewing The White Pill when I finish it. I'm going to be reviewing Atlas Shrugged when I finish it, but that'll take forever because it's a fucking long book. God, I got smoke in my eye. He lives in Florida, and I don't know what he's doing, but is dating another man, and he's made him feel delusional too. That sucks, man. Like I said, I'm sorry to hear that. If hopefully he comes to his senses eventually, and hopefully he doesn't do anything too bad. But I like if it were my brother, which neither of my brothers would have that happen. Actually, you know what? One of them might, but he's not blood related to me. Nah, I'm just kidding. Danny wouldn't do that. That's just a knock at him. I was just making a joke.
It's a fun joke.
Yeah. No, but if by some miracle one of my brothers went trans, I would not encourage it. But again, it wouldn't happen. But they were good parents to him. They would put their foot down and tell him he's not a woman and never will be. Yeah, they would. That is a parent's job, to guide their son. Especially a father.
A mother makes a boy, and a father makes a man.
Damn straight. That's the problem with Malachi is I think his dad failed him, and that's why he's taking HRT now, and he's gonna fuck himself up permanently. There's not anything I can do about it. Obviously, I warned him. I mocked him to try and help him change his mind too. I think mockery is important. I think there is a such thing as good bullying. I think there's also a such thing as bad bullying. Don't get me wrong.
You know why that works temporarily? Estrogen introduced into a man past its normal levels and increases euphoria. It gives a state of euphoria for a short period of time.
Is that why some people temporarily feel better and then they regret it years down the line?
Yep. So when men take estrogen, they get euphoric. When women take testosterone, they get energy, the drive to kill things, and stuff like that.
Yeah. I feel like men taking estrogen is almost like more toxic than women taking testosterone. Like they're both bad. They're both really bad for them, but I feel like it's worse. He's my half brother, so he's mom's son, but not my dad's son. Yeah. Okay. My two biological brothers are full brothers. My parents are still together, and they've been together for so long. As the song says, thank God for mom and dad for sticking two together, because we don't know how. Keep getting smoke in my fucking eye.
It's your ash.
You think so?
Yes. That cigar likes to throw ashes at you. But it's a good cigar.
Yeah, it is.
It's a real good cigar.
Hey Ya is a really insightful song. It really is. It's just about how fucked the state of modern dating is, because it's really fucked.
That was so long ago, too.
Yeah, it was like 2001 that song came out.
You could see it coming.
Oh, yeah. He's a black guy. Black guys are usually based on that.
Fair.
Yeah. That's like the one thing that black guys tend to be really based on is women and dating. No, hey, I was 2003, not 2001. My mistake. I wasn't that far off.
Even still.
Yeah.
Even still. The fucking Lion virus hadn't set in fully yet.
Yeah, you know that Hey Ya was originally supposed to be called Thank God for Mom and Dad, but then they changed the name to Hey Ya.
I believe that.
Yeah. I got a dentist appointment tomorrow.
Fun.
Gotta make sure I don't oversleep.
I'm gonna cancel my dentist appointment because I won't have shirt insurance.
Yeah.
Yep. Because I have it right after I lose my insurance.
Lame.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that sucks.
It's okay. I use charcoal and bamboo to brush my teeth. I'll be fine.
Okay.
They're whiter than they have been, and my gingivitis is completely gone.
Well, that's good.
Uh-huh.
I think
it has no fucking fluoride in it.
I think my teeth are relatively healthy. I think I'll get a good... It's just a checkup I got.
I also had that experimental shit put on my teeth when I was little. You don't remember that? The coating they put over my teeth to see if it would keep them good longer without me brushing them?
I don't remember that at all.
I remember that.
Did they do that to me? I don't think they
I don't
did.
think so. I think it was just me. I don't even know if Trevor got it.
Huh. But yeah, like I said, my ideology is complex because it borrows from so many things, but I think that those things can mesh well together with the elements that I selected from them. And I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with picking and choosing what you like from ideologies and philosophies, because ultimately you're always going to find something you disagree with. Drives me nuts how many conservatives really don't like objectivism, because I think objectivism meshes really well with conservatism. But the thing is, especially with Christians, they don't like the part where you reject altruism, because Christianity, especially in the New Testament, has a lot of self-sacrifice stuff, which I don't believe in unnecessary self-sacrifice. I believe in self-sacrifice for a good cause, like if it's for your family or for your beliefs. But I don't believe in self-sacrifice just for its own sake. But yeah, I don't think I don't think governments are good. I think pretty much every government, no, not pretty much, literally every government in the world is corrupt. I think the United States government is the biggest criminal gang slash syndicate in the U.S. currently, actually ever. But yeah. As far as like this next election coming up, I think I'm all in for Trump. I think that's where I'm still at. Trump is the one person I ever voted for president, and he probably will be again. Just depending on the primaries and whatnot, if they even do primaries.
I'm not going to do debates, and it ruins the whole thing I want to happen.
That's the thing. Trump's not perfect. Trump made some pretty bad mistakes. One of the biggest mistakes was Operation Warp Speed, but the bump stock ban was a really big one too. There's a lot of things he did that I didn't like.
That's been taken back.
Yeah, I know, but not by him.
No.
My parents are misguided, I think. They're brainwashed by the news. Yeah, dude, unfortunately, that's the problem with so many people. That's the biggest problem we have with society now is people see official sources, and they think that they're credible, when they're not. Like news channels lie all the time. That's like all they do.
Yep. I mean, Alex Jones said Tucker Carlson pulled off the air 3 weeks before he was.
Because Alex is in the know. He was probably talking with Tucker about it, in all honesty.
Probably.
Because I bet you Tucker saw it coming, too. I think Tim's wrong. I think those Tucker leaks are real.
I think he's wrong as well.
Yeah, I think Pig Trip did a pretty good explanation of why he thinks they're real.
Yeah.
Have you seen Pig Trip's thing on it?
I haven't, but I'm like, I think it's real.
Pig Trip's the guy who does all those edits.
I don't think it looks that...
Well, he showed a clip of Tucker Carlson that he intentionally lowered the quality, and it looked just like the other things. The leaks. But the thing is, all those leaks just make him look like a Chad, so...
It's been really funny.
No, I tried to watch a Mug Club at work today.
Dude,
it's like impossible.
It's broken. You have to. So you either have to wait for it to end, and then you can play it with your phone closed.
Well, the thing is, I could have done that, but I started it on Rumble, and then I tried to go over.
Yep.
Going over after, it's a mistake because it's hard to try and pinpoint the time because the time thing on locals isn't as good.
If you're caught up all the way on Rumble and you start at the beginning, if you switch right as it starts playing the intermission music, it works.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like, even if the show's been done, you were watching it on one, then you switched to the other?
No.
Yeah, okay.
You have to be watching live.
Okay, yeah, I never watch it live.
I watch it live.
You gotta remember, I'm not awake when it's live.
I watch it live. If you start on locals, you can usually watch it with your phone off after it's played, and you'll be fine. Every now and then it will crash.
Yeah, but, yeah, and speaking of, like I said, I think that the drama with Dave Landau, it's bad. I don't like that. I'm still, like, pissed a little bit at Crowder for that. I don't know everything that went on behind the scenes there, to be fair. But I think the shit with his wife is nobody's business, because when people are going through shit, like, you gotta remember, this would have been, like, right after Crowder's surgery, too, or at least a little bit after it.
Yeah, because he did it right before
he
had the kids.
Yeah. So, I think that a lot of people are... And the thing is, if you actually watch that clip that was leaked, there's like 40 seconds that were cut out.
Yeah, there was.
40 seconds is a pretty specific, weird number to cut. Like, if it was like a several-hour thing and you cut out to trim it, that's one thing. But when it's a short clip and you cut out 40 fucking seconds, that's a little suspicious.
You can't come to any conclusions from a 3-minute clip. It's not possible.
That said, there are funny memes with it. Like, I saw this thing, like, with this guy, like, kicking back with, like, sandals and drinking a beer while his pregnant wife is mowing the lawn. It said, POV, you're Steven Crowder. That was kind of funny. Like I said, I don't think the argument with his wife was anything really all that bad. Like, I think everyone has their moments where they say shit they regret, too.
That video could have been right after Crowder almost died after his surgery, thinking about it, right after he had his lungs fill up with liquid.
But, like I said, I'm much more mad at him for the Dave Landau drama.
Oh, yeah.
Now, my favorite YouTuber currently is Razor Fist. He doesn't upload like all the time though. That's the thing, is he uploads every once in a while.
I don't have a favorite.
Yeah, mine is easily Razor Fist now. I've come to realize. I really like Razor Fist. Did you see that what Andrew Tate did recently?
Which one?
The box of chocolates thing. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't. Seen
Okay,
the
so
box of chocolates.
so you know the guy how Vice did that hit piece on him?
Uh-huh.
The reporter from Vice tried to reach out to him to do another interview, to do another documentary, and Andrew Tate said if he brought him a box of chocolate, he would do it. And so he got the guy to fly out to Romania with a box of chocolate and stand outside his house while he recorded him, just holding the box of chocolate, looking like an idiot. And then he sent someone out to try and get the chocolate from him. He never intended to interview him. He made that pretty clear on the start, because he filmed his own documentary, essentially.
I'm not going to interview him.
Yeah.
I just want the chocolate.
And so then the guy was there, he had him standing there for a long time, and then the guy called him, and he's like, so are you doing the interview or not? He's like, oh, I thought I sent someone out to tell you to come back a little later. Which is not entirely true, but it's also not entirely untrue, because like he had the guy tell him he was tired and he was just going to be a minute. And so then he had him come back after 2 hours, and then had him keep waiting there with the chocolate.
Oh my god.
It was really fucking funny. He kept trying to get the chocolate from him, but the guy could tell that he wasn't going to give him the interview, so he didn't give him the chocolate.
Yeah.
But he made him fly all the way to Romania with a box of chocolate.
That's funny shit.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover here. My phone's battery is fairly low, so I think I'm going to wrap this stream up. I might do a gameplay stream here in a minute, though. So I'll see you guys in a little bit. Have a good one. Toodles.